Welcome into the I-80 Boys College Football Show. I'm Christian Hunt. That guy right over there is...
Yeah, I'll be Chris Vaca. I'm taking applications to get field goals for A&M, Florida, a couple other teams out there if they need a field goal kicker, K-State. I'm out there. I'm available. So, Christian, how you doing, though, my man? Good weekend of football, man. Yesterday, there was some surprise games, some upsets, a really good slate all around the board as well.
Yeah, it was a really, you said it best, Chris. It was a good weekend of football, I thought. Just a lot of surprising scores. Some things, just don't change. Some things just don't change, and I'm a little angry about it. And that's okay.
Where are we starting off today? I think I know where we're going first here.
Let's take a look here. Morning. Look who's back.
Holy shit, we got everybody in here today. Well, time change must everybody got the time today.
Second, let me get this thing put up here real quick for us. There we go. All right, Chris. We'll start with Ohio State and Rutgers. That was it's kind of a scary game there for Ohio State for a minute.
Yeah, I didn't watch most of that, but I kept looking at the score. I know Ohio State pulled away in the second half, predominantly more in the fourth quarter there, though. But Rutgers held their own in this one, man. Rutgers is now 6-3, so Marvin Harrison, by the way, best receiver in the country, dude. That guy he's unreal. He had a catch over like triple coverage yesterday. It's just like that guy got NFL star written all over him, by the way.
Yeah, that one-handed catch he had, I think it was to put the game away there on the goal line. That was pretty. I was like, whatever. One hand, just no big deal.
Yeah, dude, he's a stud, man. Ohio State, their defense is legit. Obviously, Rutgers, like I said, actually had a pretty good offense. Or decent offense anyway. They pretty much shut that down, but hats off the Rutgers hanging in there, though, man. Like I said, Rutgers actually not too bad of a team, surprise team, one of the surprise teams in the Big Ten this year.
Oh, I absolutely agree with you, Chris. I forgot, hey, they were 6-2 or 5-2, I think it was coming to that game, right?
Yep.
So just awesome stuff right there for Rutgers. They're kind of having a surprisingly good season. I mean, I think they're having the kind of season we thought Maryland or Illinois would have this year.
Yep, I agree.
Out here living everybody's dream out there in the Big Ten. Georgia and Mizzou, Chris. That was man, the game that caused me to drink yesterday.
I'll touch on it real quick, and I want to hear your thoughts as the resident Bulldog fan here. Little worried about Georgia's defense going forward. I know we talk about them a lot. They're not the 21 or the 22 defense. We all know that, but this game was pretty back and forth for the most part. I know Georgia kept the lead, throughout the game for the most part, but hats off to Luther Burton, by the way. That guy is really good. He got behind your secondary a couple times yesterday, but Mizzou, man, hung around in this game. I think I will say Missouri is a really good football team. They proved to me that they're one of the upper echelon teams in the SEC. It's no fluke this year. So I will say that.
Yeah. Yeah. Chris, I want you to do me a favor real quick, buddy.
Yeah. What's up, man?
I want you to read my shirt here for me.
Not today, Saban. I love it, man. I love it.
All right. There we go. Okay. Good.
Not
today, Drinkowich. That's a little bit too long to put on a shirt, I feel like. But here's the thing I realized. Somebody, I think Mike was talking about, for the love of God, can the NCAA do something about the shitty officiating? There was a couple of really questionable calls I saw in that game. That was bad. And no, I'm not just saying because it was going against Georgia. I think it was both ways. They were blowing calls. You know what I mean? I don't love that. We've been very critical, I think, of the officiating all year long. Georgia still took care of business. Here's the thing about Georgia that I'm learning, and that is two things this year. That is, they are a team of the second half, number one, and number two, defensively, this is not going to be our best year. Right? I mean, we still held a pretty good offense. And I think that's the thing you got to keep in mind here. We still held a really good offense to 21 points.
Yeah. No, I agree, Christian. I think you're right. And I think Georgia's offense is obviously better this year. Carson Beck still played a pretty good game. You guys are going to have to score 30 most games, though. I think when you're playing better upper echelon teams, which you guys I don't think have a problem doing. It's just a different look Georgia team than years past. That's just all there is to it this year.
Absolutely. And Chris, let me ask you this. Something I don't know if you realize, Georgia has a thing for injuring opponents' receivers. I don't know if you realize that.
No, I have not.
Because just about every big game they play, I feel like their star wide receiver, the other team, gets hurt. I mean, it goes all the way back to we played Bama, I think it was in the championship game a couple years ago. And they had, who was it? Yeah, Jameson Williams. I think he got hurt, and then that changed the complete complexity of that game. Last year it was Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
injury kind of changed some things. And then TCU, well, I'm pretty sure it was just the whole team. But anyways, and then yesterday it was Luther Burton got hurt too.
Yeah,
so,
and he
I don't know.
He did take the top off you guys early, didn't he, Christian, with that big touchdown right away?
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good, by the way. I talk about him a lot just because I like wide receivers. But yeah, I'm with you though, Christian. Georgia holds on. That's what they did. What they needed to do, though. Overall, a win's a win, right?
Oh yeah. Speaking of holding on, Michigan at Purdue. No, they throttled them.
Yeah.
They took care of business. That was the thing afterwards. I saw though, right, Chris, where Purdue's coach was a little pissed off.
Yeah, are you talking about some of the? I thought I saw a comment about something maybe earlier during the week that he knows for a fact that Michigan people were scouting his team, stuff like that. I think that's what you're referring to here, or maybe I'm wrong. I guess I did not watch this game, by the way.
Yeah, I think afterwards they were saying like they barely shook hands and it was kind of a very awkward exchange because I think leading up to that game, the Purdue coach, what was his name, real quick? I know it, and when I hear it, and he was Illinois' coach, wasn't he? A defensive coordinator last year.
Yeah, he hates Nebraska. He's a Colorado guy.
Was it Ryan Walters? Is that his name?
There you go. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, Ryan Walters. But they asked him, and he pretty much just said, "I know they were at our games." I mean, so
yeah,
he definitely. I don't think they're fans of each other. We'll put it that way. But Michigan came out and still dominated them. I don't think they had their signs allegedly, right? But we'll see. Harbaugh just needs to go buy the guy a hamburger, Chris, and make all these things right.
I agree. One thing I will say about Michigan, man, ever since all this shit's come out the last couple of weeks, they've been just destroying people. Probably a team nobody really wants to play right now. We are going to find out what Michigan is here in a couple of weeks, though.
Yeah, I agree with you. That game against Ohio State's going to be a hell of a game. The Penn State game should be pretty good too, but I think that Ohio State game is going to be a phenomenal game.
I agree. It is every
Florida.
Year. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Nope. I'm ready to move on.
Oh, well, there we go. Florida State and Pittsburgh, Chris. This was had me sweating for my parlay. I'll be honest with you because I picked a bunch of good teams and yeah. But Florida State finally figured it out with a very lackluster win here, and that's all they needed to do. So what was your thoughts on the game, Chris?
I watched some of this. It was weird because I think at halftime it was 7-0. Ugly, both sides of the ball. But then I realized, though, they said, I think they were missing both their receivers. I don't think Coleman played yesterday, and I don't know if Wilson played either. But regardless, whether or not they played, Florida State should have won this thing 42-10, in my opinion. Pitt hung around in this one for a while, but then Florida State in the fourth quarter did what Florida State should do. They're the much more talented team, the better team here. I don't really have much more to add to that one.
Yeah. I agree with you. I mean, it was at this point of the season, just win. Doesn't matter how you do it, just win, right? So Washington and USC, that was a back and forth game, wasn't it?
I tell you what, I watched this whole thing because I took Washington in the -3, and I had him in a parlay on a money line too. Neither of these two schools, man, wanted to play any defense yesterday. I know USC doesn't. I mean, Penix played awesome. Caleb Williams played awesome. I thought whoever had the ball last was going to win this thing. And then Washington ended up getting stalled, getting a field goal, and then ended up making a stop at the end there. But Jesus, man, this game was back and forth. I mean, just like you said, I mean, constantly. Whoever had the ball scored. I mean, at one point I think it was 28-28 with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter already. I mean, I think the over on this game was set at 70. I should have smashed the over on that in halftime. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, dude, it was fun. Washington survived. They did what they needed to do. That's got to make our boy Daniel, I think he's in here too, pretty happy. 9-0. I mean, we both picked them, I think, yesterday, right?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, good. Yeah, I mean, they did what they needed to do, and they outdueled USC, which to me, I think this puts the fork in USC.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't getting to the Natty anyways, but they had an outside puncher's chance of climbing back into a top 10 ranking. I felt like.
Yeah, no, they had one loss in conference up until the game yesterday. Washington, thank God, because I'm not a USC fan at all. Thank God Washington came in there, started to play a little defense late in that game. Like I said, USC is tough on offense. They got a ton of weapons. That's typical of Lincoln Riley, though, right? No defense, loaded up on offense. It's a shootout every week for USC. Doesn't matter who the hell they're playing.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of a shootout, Chris, Oregon and Cal. I mean, it was a one-sided shootout, I felt like.
Yeah, this game, if you look at the box score in this thing, I think the first quarter, it was like 7-3 or something like that. It was really – Kyle hung in this thing for a little bit, and then, holy shit, then Oregon just blew the doors off them. Yeah, what would have been the score?
It was like 10-14.
Yeah, then it got ugly.
Yeah, then it got really bad. And then pretty much it looks like just field goals from there. No, they got a touchdown after that. But, yeah.
Oregon, the most complete team in the country as far as offensive balance, man. I'm telling you, they could run the football with Bucky Irving. Bo Nix looks amazing. We're going to get this matchup, man. I hope so. I want Oregon-Washington, Christian, one more time this year. I really do.
I think we're going to get it, buddy. I think we're going to get it, and I think it's going to be a phenomenal game, and it's going to be everything you want it to be, as it should, right? As it should. You deserve a conference game shouldn't be a blowout.
No.
It really shouldn't, and we'll talk about that because I got a feeling the Big Ten is going to be a blowout either way you look at it. That championship game.
Yeah.
Which we knew that, but Texas and Kansas State, that was a game that. Honestly, I turned it off. I turned my attention to other games yesterday. And then you texted me and said, what is Kansas State still doing? And it was like 30 minutes after I thought the game was over.
Yeah.
So really weird, right? Really, really weird.
I want to add to this game, if anybody watched this, and I watched it because I took K-State in the +3, and I was really rooting for K-State in this one, Christian. But so there was a missed PAT, a missed field goal by K-State. And then in overtime, they could have took a field goal to send it into a second overtime. Well, they decided on 4th and 4 to run some stupid ass play and go for it. It made no sense to me, Christian. None. I'm all for going for it on 4th down, but if you knew, and I'm assuming they knew they were going, hey, we're going to go for it here. We're going to go for the win. We're not going to go for the second overtime. I understand that, especially when you're playing in Texas. But the play that whole series, the 4 plays there was just stupid. They tried throwing it. They had a ton of success running it against Texas. K-State owned the second half. They were down by 20 in this game at one point. K-State owned the second half, moving the ball. I can't believe. I thought it was one of the dumbest coaching decisions there of the year. Honestly, I truly believe that. I thought K-State should have had this one.
Yeah, I think that's a situation where, hey, like you said, I don't mind that K-State went for it in that situation. You can make the argument, hey, they probably got a little too cute. They probably should have just kicked the field goal, gone into double overtime. You know what I mean? So, but I get what they're doing because the way they look at it is, hey, they held Texas to a field goal, right?
Exactly.
And they probably weren't going to hold them to another field goal, and they may not have scored a touchdown on that second drive. You could nitpick it to death, right? But hey, hats off to Texas. They survived.
Yeah.
I think the first half we were ready to crown Malik Murphy. The second half we were ready to fire Malik Murphy and see Arch Manning.
Yeah, he threw that pick 6 that kind of changed the game. They were up, I think, 24-3 or something like that at one point. Threw that off balance, threw it across the field, interception for a touchdown. K-State got right back into it after that. And the doors kind of fell off in Texas's defense throughout that game, Christian. That was a weird game. Tale of two halves in that football game. But like you said, overall, we won't spend more time on this one. But Texas did enough to hang on. It was ugly, but a win's a win.
Oh yeah. A win is a win. They did it. Speaking of a win being a win, I was wrong. You were right. LSU, Bama. It's more of the same. It looks like right this year, and that's going to be. We're going to see Georgia and Bama.
I think so.
For the SEC title.
I think so. Alabama holds the tiebreaker over Ole Miss. We'll talk about Ole Miss here shortly as well. But Alabama did enough in this game LSU's defense also, between them and USC, I don't know who has the worst defense. I mean, it's just like they got particles or cardboard out there on defense. Hats off, Jalen Milroe did enough, but I didn't realize he's going to score 4 touchdowns rushing yesterday against LSU's defense. But LSU, you said it before the show, man. They're just more of the same shit from LSU this year.
I think the other side of that too, Chris, and this needs to be kind of said, is both these teams, both LSU and USC, they have the players. They have the players that wouldn't surprise me at all if they end up getting drafted and one day you hear about Big Bear Alexander or Mason Smith or Harold Perkins in the NFL just being the best at their positions, right? Or at least being very, very good, very high-paid guys. But the fact that they can't, in college on this same team, figure out how to get these guys to play some semblance of defense, whether it's USC or LSU, is absolutely astounding to me. Don't get me wrong. Jalen Milroe is a phenomenal athlete, but there is no reason, right? There's no reason if you're supposed to be a top 15 team, you were, I thought, a playoff contender on the onset of the season, that you should be letting that guy run for 4 frickin' touchdowns on you and dice you up, it looks like Jalen Hurts reincarnated back there.
I agree. Everything you said, I agree with. I think LSU fans got to be fed up with the defense, man. LSU is always known for great defense. Since Brian Kelly's gotten there the last 2 years, man, they give up like 30, 40 a game, it seems like, every week. Just very surprising. You said the most key word in that, talent. They got more talent than 95% of the country, probably even more than that, honestly. And it's amazing, like you said, just no remnants of defense at all from LSU this year, at all.
Oklahoma State, Chris Gundy put a fork in it, and I'm not saying Bedlam's done. Like, these two teams are never going to play ever again. They pretty much did what they needed to do. Oklahoma cost me some money yesterday, Chris. I'm kind of angry at them.
Yeah, I did take the over in this game. It was 21-17 after the first quarter. I thought I was going to cash. Boy, that didn't happen. Hats off to Oklahoma State, man. For a team that lost to South Alabama in Iowa State to start the season, now has won like 6. They're the hottest team in the Big 12. They look really, really good, and I'm assuming the Oklahoma State fans got to be ecstatic, man, to beat Oklahoma on their way out. It was a good football game yesterday. Hats off to Oklahoma State. Like I said, that was a good football game. There was a lot of good football games yesterday. It seemed like everything was potentially close or going into overtime. So.
Seth said, so glad he doesn't have to worry about watching Oklahoma in the playoffs. Yeah, that's you're probably not going to have to worry about watching them in the playoffs for a while. I'll be honest, because no, that's hilarious, dude. That's Oklahoma's done. They last 2 weeks now. I can't believe after beating Texas in that big win, they basically shit the bed the last 2 weeks. I mean, the loss to Kansas last week and now Oklahoma State. Yikes. A game that kind of made up for it, A&M Ole Miss. Somebody had said on our channel that this wasn't going to be a close game. Can you believe that? They said, you guys are wrong. It's not even going to be a close game. Watch, you know what I mean? And we did watch, and it was a close game.
Christian, what do you got to add to this? What about A&M and Jimbo Fisher?
I think he's done. Okay. I mean, honestly, I think this was a close doesn't. Nobody cares. You know what I mean? In the state of Texas, whether you're close at winning. Right? All they care about is that you actually win. And I get it. They have a backup quarterback. You saw the frustration yesterday. Max Johnson came over there, and Jimbo Fisher, I think, was kind of asking him a question, and Max Johnson went off on him. Yeah. Right? And I think it was that goal line interception that really kind of pissed him off. And you could see he didn't run the route. He was supposed to keep going up, and they were holding him or something like that. And that probably was what happened. But still, Ole Miss, I mean, they're another team that, man, they're just going to keep gutting you like that. Probably not going to play much defense, but as long as they can put up 30 plus points on you, I mean, they're another team that's gonna be in it. And they play my Dogs next week, man. So this is going to be a fun game to watch. I think that's got a shootout potential, and I'm here for it.
Yeah. No, I'll add a little bit here. A&M had a chance to send this into overtime. Botched a 38-yard field goal there. You guys can sign me up. I can kick one of those. It wasn't even close. But yeah, I'm on the same sentiment about Fisher. He's got to be done. That was a must win for them. I know Ole Miss, nobody really talks about him. We're going to be talking about him this week, though, when they Where's that game at? Is that in Georgia? Is that it? Or is that
Yeah, it's at Georgia.
Okay, that'll help you guys.
That's definitely going to be the one that you want right there. Let me just make sure that I'm right about that real quick. Yeah, it's at Georgia.
Okay,
so
cool.
That'll be a good game. That'll be a fun game to watch, I think.
Oh yeah.
And I, of course, am going to bet on Ole Miss. And yeah, we'll both be at a wedding, so we'll probably just watch a little bit of that. Hopefully,
yeah, absolutely. No, we'll definitely be tuning into the game, 100%.
All right, Penn State and Louisville smacking around some teams that were Virginia Tech. We weren't really high on coming into the season. But I know Maryland was a team we were pretty high on. Yeah,
I don't have much to add. I did catch a little bit of the Penn State Maryland game. Penn State just defensively shut down Maryland's offense to start that game. It was never really even close. And then in the second half, my God, Penn State did whatever they wanted to a Maryland team that is underachieving big time this year for me and Christian's thoughts. We thought Maryland would have been a good football team this year. They fit right in with the rest of the Big Ten.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, Chris. Clemson, Notre Dame. You called that before the show was on there. I thought Will Shipley not playing in that game. I thought you were crazy. And hey, listen. Speaking of that, I got a little stat for you here.
Yes, sir.
With that win yesterday, Dabo became the winningest Clemson coach of all time. So take that, Tyler.
I love it, man. No, I had a feeling this game for some reason. I mean, Maffa isn't a bad running back to back up to Shipley, but Clemson got on him early, man. Sam Hartman threw a pick six kind of to start that game. Notre Dame did fight back a little bit in the second half there. I did watch part of that, but Clemson, they needed to win that game though. I mean, now at least they're above 500. They're still 5-4. I think Clemson's going to be in a close game with anybody they play the rest of the season, but Notre Dame's chances they were done before this game. They're Notre Dame. I'm disappointed in Notre Dame this year. I thought they would have been better, especially with Sam Hartman. They just defensively didn't look good yesterday either. Clemson is a talented team though, Christian. We know that, but it was a big upset, big win for Clemson yesterday.
Oh yeah, big win for him, huge win. Just giving Dabo the ammunition, right? I mean, how cool would that be, though, right? How cool would that be to know, hey, I'm a fan, and I probably am going to be the reason my team's going to make a complete 360-degree turnaround. Right?
Yeah.
Like I know, obviously, they're not going to shake hands, but Dabo might want to get that guy to just kind of be around the program. Maybe pay him some of that $11 million contract. You know, just pay the guy like $30,000 a year, come in and just say dumb shit, and piss the team off. You know,
no, whatever it was. That's why I took Clemson in the points yesterday, because I thought this is a get right spot for Clemson. They got to be pissed off, getting tired. I mean, they've been in the media just as much as Michigan has, the last couple of weeks. So it's kind of the way it works in college football, Christian. You know that. What they say, the squeaky wheel gets the grease type of thing, man. Finally, it pissed them off over there, and looked like they actually played football finally.
Oh yeah, Oregon State and Colorado, Chris. This was we don't have to go super long into this one, but man, kind of makes you wonder here. Turning the play calling duties over to Pat Shurmur, taking away from Sean Lewis. Interesting, right?
Yeah. If you guys didn't watch this game, Oregon State was up like 21-3 at halftime, something right around that. I was watching it, and second half, Colorado came back, played a little bit of defense in that game, but surprised they only put up 19 points though. They didn't look real good yesterday. Oregon State does have a decent defense, don't get me wrong. Oregon State though, quietly still in the hunt though. I think for the Pac-12, I think they only have 2 losses, so I don't want to say in the hunt, but they're creeping around. They did what they needed to do in Boulder yesterday.
Oh, yeah, dude. Absolutely fired up here. UConn, Tennessee.
Yeah, nothing to add to that.
Yeah, nothing there. Arizona State, Utah. I wanted to touch on this, Chris. Offensive explosion there for Utah against Arizona State. Arizona State's played some teams kind of close this year.
They have. They
dominated in that game, which is what you'd want to see. Let's take a look here. Bryson Barnes, 1928, 161 yards, 4 touchdowns.
Wow.
No interceptions. So hats off to them. Also, Jaquindon Jackson also had 111 yards.
Jesus. Yeah, they Utah yesterday. The score surprised me. It didn't surprise me that they only held Arizona State to 3 points. It was just I thought it'd be like a 21-3 game or 28-10, something like that. Man, 55 points by Utah in a get right spot after the big loss to Oregon last week. Utes are a good team though, man. Probably got the best defense over there, maybe with Oregon in the Pac-12.
Yeah, I agree with you. Utah's still in the hunt too, right?
Yes, I think they only have 2 losses too. They're kind of right in that with Oregon State. I think those two are very similar.
Maybe not obviously for the conference. I think the conference is going to end up going to Washington or Oregon, but they're still sticking around. They're staying around there.
Yeah, just keep pushing USC and Colorado down to the bottom of the Pac-12. I'm happy with it.
Yeah, very, very fun. Wow. Arizona and UCLA.
I picked this one. I bet on this late last night after a few drinks. Said, you know what? Let's go Arizona. I know I didn't say it on the show yesterday, but Arizona, man, I watched some of that game. They might be one of the most slept-on teams in the country, bro. They're not bad. They can move the football a little bit on offense, and their defense played really well yesterday. UCLA's got a good defense, so we thought. But hats off the Wildcats this year, man. I think they're right in there too. I think they only have 2 or 3 I think they have 3 losses, but they've gotten hot lately though.
Yeah, they had Colin Schlee, who was the Kent State transfer, who led the team in rushing yards. Also, as a quarterback. Arizona, dude. I mean, hats off to them. Ethan Garber's 13-21, and they decided to go to Dante Moore, who was 4-7 for 14 yards. To me, I think, listen, and I've been vocal about this, Dante Moore is your future. Why they're still doing this whole Garbers thing at this point, I won't get it. Take your lumps. Even if you're a 6-7 win team this year, with Dante Moore, you do it for next year when you go to the Big Ten.
I agree with you. I'm kind of surprised what Chip Kelly's trying to do over there this year. They didn't start Moore to start the season, right? But they brought him in right away, played him for 4 or 5 weeks, and then you yank him out. I mean, I don't know what that does to a kid's confidence, but it's like either you got to roll with somebody here. UCLA's not a bad football team this year. I'm with you there. I don't know what the hell Chip Kelly's doing.
I don't know either, dude. I mean, it's they're gonna find out. It's kind of like investing into a stock, right? You can see the Titanic train wreck happening a mile away sometimes, and coaches can't. And it's like, what are we doing? Yeah, I get it. You're trying to win every game and everything like that, but sometimes you got to be able to kind of look out ahead, right? The UCLA job, Chip Kelly's in no danger of losing his job, even with a 5 or 6 win season.
No.
So. But whatever, you know what I mean? Hey, we're just 2 guys, sitting in our mom's basement out here talking football. So what do we know?
Yeah, well, nothing. Absolutely nothing, clearly.
Kansas and Iowa State. That was a good game, right?
Yeah, I lost money on Iowa State, and it pisses me off. I thought this was like the ultimate get-right spot for Iowa State. Kansas coming off the high, big win over Oklahoma last week, Christian. And they got down early in this game to Kansas, and Iowa State fought all the way back, but just wasn't enough quite there at the end. Iowa State, by the way, has one of the best defenses in the country. It's kind of one of those things nobody really knows about. But man, they couldn't get done. Matt Campbell, God, man, some of the decisions he made in the first quarter put him down about 21-0 in that game. Just wasn't enough to try and dig yourself out of that hole. So,
yeah, I think one of the greatest stats here is Rocco Beck.
Yes,
Beck. He was 20 of 26, 1 interception, no touchdowns, but he had 216 yards. I thought coming into the season, and Seth said it best, my dad's side of the family is all Iowa State fans. We all expected to win 3 games. Very surprised we actually have a chance of a bowl game. Coming into this season, when we were looking at Iowa State, one thing that I kind of noticed was, like you said, their defense was going to have to keep them in a lot of games, and they have. But their offense has been pretty bad. So I think the fact that their quarterback was able to put up more yards and frankly, from a same standpoint, looked a little better than Oklahoma's Dylan Gabriel did the week prior against Kansas, tells you something, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I watched this game. Like I said, the Rocco Beck, he's a good little player, man. He's a tough kid. He's kind of one of those guys that I like. I know you like him too, like a Max Dugan or Cam Rising, those type of guys. Riley Leonard, he's not going to wow you with superb arm talent or anything like that, but he's a winner, man. And good for Iowa State, man. Like I said, I agree with Seth. I don't think anybody saw Iowa State even being close to bowl eligible this year. They definitely got a shot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh boy!
Real quick, we'll get to the surprise game yesterday. The Army West Point. West Point beat Air Force. What the hell happened?
Your boys over there, Christian. I took the 18.5 points I was given with Army yesterday, man. I wish I would have took the money line on that. Would have got paid. You wouldn't have saw me today. But hats off to Army, man. That was a big one, man. I was kind of riding with the Falcons, man, thinking they were gonna roll undefeated this season. But damn, your boys over there at Army, man, got her done yesterday in good fashion.
That's right. That's right, dude. As soon as you said Falcons, I was like, oh, that was a first mistake. Never bet on the Falcons. Oh, man.
Oh, boy.
All right. Our thriller, the thriller down in the swamp there, went into overtime. We've got people calling for Billy Napier and Austin Armstrong. Basically, everybody getting fired.
Yeah, fire sale going on over there.
Fire sale, dude. Literally, fire Rob Sale. Here's the thing, right? We've been kind of on this same narrative pretty much all off season. And Chris, I thought of something with this, right? My big thing is this loss to me is just about is on that same level. Actually, I think this loss might be worse than the loss last year to Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Gator Swag, I love your enthusiasm week in and week out, buddy. But I told you guys that you needed to watch out for this game. Arkansas came in there yesterday. You guys made KJ Jefferson look like the reincarnated Cam Newton coming out there. And I don't know what the deal is with Florida, man. I thought Florida was actually, they were peaking a little bit. They won a couple games in a row, started to kind of figure it out. Now, what do you guys do when you lose this one, Christian? Because you got 3 games, I believe it's like LSU, Missouri, and Florida State. You guys got to get one of those to get bowl eligible. This was the one you needed badly yesterday, especially at the Swamp, man. Oh, boy. Yeah.
What happened? What happened?
Yeah. Yeah, what happened here, Gators? You got an answer to this one, buddy?
No, obviously I'm going to say it, for the fans and stuff like that. I think it's great for Sam Pittman, but it's really bad for Florida. Really bad, I think. Really bad because here's the thing, right? Like we said this, and it was one of those things where it's just a situation where I don't think Billy Napier is the answer. He's a hell of a recruiter, right?
Yeah.
But you can't lose to a team that hadn't won an SEC game this year. I think they were 2-6, 2-5. I think coming in this game, 2-6. No, 2-6. So,
Christian, that was a must win. You're right. I mean that they needed that one at the Swamp even too. I mean, we thought that they had to get this one yesterday. You said about Billy Napier. I've been saying it all along about Billy Napier. Great recruiter. He's in over his head over here at Florida, man. I truly, truly believe that. I think he's a really good guy. I just don't think he knows what the hell he's doing at this level. And it showed yesterday, man. It really did. There was some boneheaded coaching decisions in that game, a missed field goal. Where's Florida's defense? I mean, Arkansas's offense hasn't been that great this year. What's going on, man? This one, it didn't surprise me it was close, but I watched the end of that game, and Florida, I thought, should have won that thing in the third quarter, and they didn't. They didn't put it away when they could have, and Arkansas hung around, and they found out.
They did. They messed around and they found out. I think just down the stretch, Florida got cold when they needed to, right? And that's the big thing. They had an opportunity to win that game several times, and they were down 14-0 very quickly. I think you said it.
Yep.
Within the first couple minutes of the game, they were down 14-0. So they fought their way back, had a lead at some point, let Arkansas get back into the game, missed a field goal to win it in walk-off fashion, and then pretty much, pretty much we see how that kind of played out there, right? So hoping Florida goes 5-7 and they fire Napier. Well, it might happen because it does not get any easier for Florida going forward, right? I think the next game is Mizzou, right?
LSU or Missouri, and then it's Florida State, I know, at some point. And all 3 of those teams are top 15 teams. Not going to be easy for Florida to try to get one win here to get bowl eligible, in my opinion.
Speaking about bowl eligibility, what about the Big Ten West, Chris? in Wisconsin and Indiana. And we're going to get to your team here in a second, I know, but and I got a good story about that as well. But Indiana, Wisconsin, I mean, that was just a typical Big Ten game to watch. I felt like this game might have saved Tom Allen's job, right?
I think so. There was only two teams in the Big Ten that didn't have any conference wins yesterday. They both got wins. That would have been Michigan State and Indiana. What the hell's the deal with Wisconsin? I know you guys, Seth's going to, where do I start? I know you guys have a ton of injuries, but still, Indiana's not that good a football team this year. You guys just can't get it going this year, man. And it's sad. Like I said, I was ultra high on Wisconsin this year. Christian knows that. Man, I'm a big Luke Fickell guy too. And it's not looking good this year. The Big Ten West in general is just a crapshoot week in and week out. It doesn't matter who the hell's playing who. Man, that was a tough one yesterday. I didn't bet on that game. Thank God. I would have took Wisconsin, but yeah, I thought they had that one won yesterday. I thought Indiana would have been one of the easier wins going forward for Wisconsin. I was wrong. And you're right, Christian. I think Tom Allen probably keeps his job.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you. I think it's, Wisconsin, again, their long-term, I'm still high on them, right? I mean, Braden Locke's going to be the future of the program there. He's going to have to, they're going to have to build an offense around him. And Fickell's going to do a good job at that. I have no questions about it. It's just going to take him a little bit of time.
True. Oh, boy.
Speaking about a game, we got to talk about it. So after this game, Chris, I watched my dogs play right after this game. And it was 10-10 at halftime, so I decided to have a few drinks, a few adult beverages. I got a little intoxicated, right, as you might imagine. And so later in the night, I decided, hey, I'm gonna put a post out there, and I'm gonna try to get Coach Knighton, the defensive line coach for Nebraska, to maybe give me a shot. You know what I mean? Maybe give me a shot out there. So I put 6'2", 315 pounds. Might have embellished my 40-yard dash time a little bit. Said 4.78. You know what I mean? No big deal. as you should, right? If you're trying to get recruited. And let me just tell you right now, I got a response back. And it turns out I tagged the wrong Coach Knighton. I tagged a Pop Warner coach who also goes by Coach Terrence Knighton on Instagram, and said, "Hey, that's awesome, dude. I actually coach Pop Warner football though." Said, hey, that's fine. I still have 4 years of eligibility, so come get me. Let's go.
Christian's, I tell you what, Christian drinks, man. This guy will do anything. It's amazing. Speaking, though, about my Huskers on a serious note here, I'm not going to blame the refs. I'm not. Nebraska was a much better team than Michigan State. Now, I know Michigan State, I actually made a bet with my dad, and I rescinded it at the end because I thought Michigan State would win this game. If you guys didn't watch Wednesday and then yesterday morning show, I said this is a scary game for Nebraska. Michigan State's just anxious for any sort of win in the conference, and they got it. They did yesterday. And Michigan State, they're not. I mean, they don't do anything great. I mean, it's just Nebraska. The turnovers again, man. I can't stand it. I can't take it anymore. I can't take the sidearm throws from a guy who's 6'5". It's just stupid. We put the ball on the ground a couple times too, and we got him back. But God damn it, man! When the Big Ten West is what it is, Christian, this year, which is just a jumbled mess of teams that are all about the same, offensively and defensively, you can't turn the ball over and expect to win. Nebraska had multiple opportunities to score on drives. They didn't. They stalled out. The offense is just, it's not good. I keep saying that every freaking week, but this was a game Nebraska needed yesterday. This is what really makes me mad. The goal here was 6 wins. This was the one right here. Get this one, kind of like Florida in a way. Needed this one. We didn't get it. Now we got Maryland. Now we got Wisconsin, and we got Iowa. Now I know all 3 of those teams aren't world beaters, but Michigan State was the easiest one of those 4. And now I'm a little worried going forward. Christian, I want to hear your thoughts. I know I'm a little, my heart's into it. I look at it subjectively sometimes because I'm a diehard over here.
Well, I think like you said, I mean, it was a game where you said it yesterday to start the show off that, hey, this is a game that probably has trap game written all over it because Nebraska had won 3 games in a row. coming into that first time since, what was it, 2018, 2016, I think it was? 2016.
Yep, 2016.
And it just was a situation on the road against a Michigan State team that hasn't been great, obviously, for obvious reasons. They were without their quarterback, Noah Kim. They had two guys that kind of came in there. They ran a bunch of trick plays that seemed to kind of work at times. You know, holding them to 20 points, not an issue, right? Like the defense, you know, yeah, there was some things that you could make an argument, whatever. But the defense to me wasn't the issue in this. It's the offense, right? That's the big thing that kind of really, I think, is what turned you guys in. The biggest problem I have is the quarterback.
Yeah.
Right? The quarterback play. I mean, there was several throws in that game that he had guys wide open. The first interception he threw, he had a guy wide open for a touchdown. If he literally put it anywhere on the left side of the field, it's a touchdown, and that ends up, everyone's happy, right? Because I took the over and I took Nebraska in that game. So I'm happy Nebraska wins. It is what it is. Instead, it was basically a huge arm punt, and he threw it right to the safety. And that kind of affected. There was another thing that happened too, where they called defensive holding, where he threw an interception, and it was basically same thing to the safety. If he puts the ball to the right this time, where the guy is running that kind of that streak route there, it's a touchdown. Yeah, I mean, it's a touchdown. So there was several throws that you're like, okay, these are not, you know, you don't have to have elite arm talent to make these throws. You just have to be very competent. I mean, we see guys that can make these throws at the middle school level. So for me, it's just, how does it get better, right? Because you can't trust Sims, right, to get in and not fumble the ball or do something, right? And I don't think Purdy's going to win the job either. I don't think that Nebraska's answer at quarterback is on the roster.
Wow, you said it best there, and we've been saying this week in and week out, not to sound like a bunch of haters, but yesterday his stat line: 12 of 28, 129 yards, 2 interceptions, sacked 7 times. And this is Michigan State, guys. This is Michigan State. This wasn't Ohio State or Penn State's defense or Michigan's defense. You said it, man. Miss throws. If we had a quarterback this year, if Casey Thompson was playing, and I know this is in the past, but man, Nebraska wins 2 or 3 more games this season. We're so easy to defend, Christian. It's not even funny. You know what I mean? We're going to run the football, and we're not bad at running the football, especially with all the injuries at running back. But god damn, man, if you can't throw the ball, and I'm not saying you got to be like Colorado or USC or Georgia throwing the ball, but you got to have some sort of identity through the air at times, and we just don't, man. And it's frustrating to watch. You said it best. You know, defensively, yeah, we gave up 20. They had the catch. I still think that was a catch. I know you guys are going to argue with me. Regardless, we gave up 20 points. We should be able to score more than 20 points in today's college football. This is a week in and week out thing. Nebraska struggling to get to the 20-point mark against sub-average teams, man, and turning the ball over. You're putting yourself in a hole to start the game. Or to finish a game, and that's the narrative of Nebraska's offense this year, Christian.
Yeah, I agree with you, Chris. I mean, we were talking on the phone when that touchdown pass, that was questioned.
Oh shit! Did I lose you? Yeah, we lost him. Let's see here. Well, I'll go to the chat here before Christian jumps back in. Mike says, actually, penalties is not even my biggest complaint. My biggest complaint is why in the hell are we fair catching inside the 5? I agree. That I don't know what to say to that. I don't know what the guys are taught on that. I think that's a coaching thing there. If that was a catch, then it was not PI when they tackled Coleman 10 yards before the ball got there. I'm not saying the reffing was good, Mike. Like I said, I don't think the reffing was good. And it's not just Nebraska's game, though. It's been a kind of a theme this year in college football. The reffing's been very suspect. I don't know. Christian looks like he's joining back in here. Christian, I want you to pick up right where you left off there. We were on the phone on that potential catch.
Absolutely. As we are most days on Saturdays, we were on the phone. We're like 2 schoolgirls, talking about college football here. Here's the reason why I say that, right? There was no, looking at it, I look at it from the same standpoint of, they call it a touchdown on the field, right? and there was no clear evidence that I couldn't see it, right? Like I just, you couldn't overturn that, I don't think. So that's why I say that.
Yep.
The other side of it is, here's the thing, right? Georgia got hosed on some calls in their game against Missouri. They still ended up beating them by 10 points.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, they got hosed on a very similar situation where the officiating, I think you could actually have a good look at it where their receiver, Weiss, caught the ball as he was going out of bounds, and he bobbled it, and then basically he was out of bounds already. So I think the ball clearly hit the ground, though, on replay. Did it? Because to me, it looked like his hand was underneath it, right?
I'm with you, Christian, because we talked about this yesterday. If any of you guys played football or ever reffed a game, I used to ref games, JV games and stuff when I was in college for money. It's hard to do live, right? I mean, it happens fast. Live, that looks like a catch. You slow it down, play a different couple angles. Yeah, the ball does touch the ground, but his hand's kind of underneath it too, and he really doesn't ever lose control of it. And if you guys don't know, and I watch a shit ton of NFL, and so does Christian, they rarely overturn the call made on the field. They don't want to. It's just, you got to have crazy amount of evidence to overturn that. So, and my whole point with this is, regardless whether that was a touchdown or not, who's to say Michigan State doesn't kick a field goal there, doesn't still score? My point is, why the hell can't we, as Nebraska, score more than 17 points in this game? I never blame refs for games, very, very rarely. I'm not saying the officiating was good in that game, like I said earlier, Mike, when Christian was just coming back in here, but the officiating's been bad all across the board in college football this year. I think you could watch any game and find things that were very questionable, bad calls, stuff like that. But Nebraska offensively, Christian's got to do something different here. I don't, like I said, I think going forward here, we're going to have to, I don't know how we're going to score more than 14 points against Iowa and Wisconsin. I really don't. Those teams are much better defensive teams than Michigan State.
Yeah, it's got to get better. I mean, that's the thing. It's got to get better. And like you said, I mean, you got Maryland, Wisconsin, and Iowa on the slate for you.
Yep.
In that order too. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, the Maryland game, we'll see. I mean, Maryland, I don't know what they're gonna do. Right? I really don't know what they're gonna do or what they're gonna be even. So we'll see what they end up doing. As far as all that stuff's concerned. I will say this. I do think it was horseshit. I think his arm was going forward, and they should have given him the ball with 1 second left, to end the game there. Do I think that they somehow hit a long Hail Mary to win the game? Probably not. Probably not. But you never know what could happen, right? I mean, again, if there was pass interference or something like that, that might give them an opportunity to get a little closer and do something, right?
Yeah, maybe field goal. I mean, but at the end of the day, like I said, yeah, we should. To me, good teams don't put themselves in those kinds of situations, and Nebraska seems to find themselves in those situations a lot where you got to make a play, and it just doesn't happen, man. And nothing against Heinrich Haarberg, by the way. I'm not hating on the kid. I like the story. He's a Nebraska kid. He's a tough kid. But man, throwing the ball though, it's just not there, Christian.
No, I agree. I agree with you. It's just not there, and it's it could be there, right? I mean, it could be there. I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say the kid doesn't have talent. I mean, he's got a good ball, and I think it's just decision making, right? That's the thing. Like, I can't blame Satterfield about that game.
No.
So
I agree.
Here's the other side of it too, Chris. We're looking at Campbell, North Carolina. North Carolina took care of business. I mean, it was 7-7 at one point in that game, and I thought, oh wow. I jokingly referred to Campbell, and they're gonna sit here and upset UNC, and then
the Camels.
UNC, yeah, the Camels. You're gonna ride that to the bank, dude. But North Carolina turned around. Listen, here's the thing. I want you to kind of take a look at this too. North Carolina. This is what's so scary to me. Right. This should scare you. And I know it was Campbell. I know it was an inferior team here. They got a guy, Chris. They got a guy. Connor Harrell, their backup, was 4 of 4, 71 yards and a touchdown. He also had 2 rushes for 61 yards and a touchdown. When Drake May leaves, I think that program is going to be in a good spot. Looking ahead for next year.
Yeah, no, I think Mac Brown, wherever he's been, though, even when he was at Texas, he's always had prolific offenses, man. I think it's a whole system thing there. And North Carolina does have a lot of talent, man, this year. They do. They had some really good wide receivers. That O'Meara and Hampton guy, the running back's a stud too. I know it was against Campbell, but it just surprises me how they lost the previous 2 games. That's the one that kills me to what Virginia and who the hell else was it? It was somebody no good last week they lost to. Was it Wake Forest? I don't remember who the hell it was. But
Georgia Tech? Yeah. No,
it Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
There you are. You're right. The Yellow Jackets. It's like North Carolina, man, they could score some points. That's for damn sure. Yeah, right there. Des Walker, man, he's a stud too. He's going to find himself in the NFL as well.
I thought, okay, man, they're really fighting for this kid to come back, whatever, and you think, okay, it's not going to do all that well. And then the guy goes out and he's putting together a hell of a season, right?
Yeah.
He's probably going to finish in like 6 or 7 games this year with more yards than some people have in their career at the receiver position.
I agree. I think his first game he played had 3 touchdowns or something like that. Like he is electric, man. Like I said, North Carolina's offense is scary, very scary.
He's been back, 3 or 4 games now, I think it is.
Yeah. Yep.
And he's already put up like almost 400 yards.
Jesus. Yeah, and he probably barely played in this one. He only had 2 catches, but they were both for touchdowns. So, yeah.
Jacksonville State in South Carolina, that was a game that we thought had upset potential there. It was very close, and then South Carolina pulled away late there.
Yeah. Beamer, I guess, still keeping his job going forward here. They needed that one. If he would have lost yesterday, they might have fired him on the sideline. I don't know. I mean, nothing against Jacksonville State, but South Carolina, man, we thought they would win 7 or 8 games this year. It's been a tough road to hoe if you're a Gamecocks fan.
Oh, 100% agree. 100% agree there. Georgia. Speaking of Georgia Tech, they beat the brakes off Virginia.
Are they? They're going to get to a bowl game yet, aren't they?
They are. Just when everybody was down on Brent Key, wanted him gone. He turns it around. I mean, just on the drop of a dime. So Georgia Tech going to be very interesting to see what they do. We'll kind of here in a second. We'll look at some of the conference standings and everything like that, and we'll take a look. I think you might be surprised where Georgia Tech is sitting right now in the ACC.
Okay. I like it.
We'll kind of probably finish her off here with a couple more games, but Illinois, Minnesota, and Iowa Northwestern. I'll start with an Iowa Northwestern game here, Chris. It was on Peacock, which pissed me off. So nobody probably watched it. Nobody was probably going to want to watch it anyways. But this was a game Iowa was able to get a field goal late, win it. And yeah, if you bet the under, you were probably pretty happy.
Yeah, amazingly, that under was at 31, which is just laughable. They got 17, so they cut it in about half. Amazing. I will want to. I do want to talk about Illinois, Minnesota. I will never ever bet on Minnesota again. I thought at home Minnesota under Fleck, they hardly ever lose there. They're a much different team at home. Way to shit the bed yesterday in that game against a bad Illinois team. They had him on 4th and 11. Minnesota was up. And they give up a 4th and 11 play, let them drive down the field, score, and that was game over. I mean, good for Nebraska. If you're Nebraska, I think you needed Minnesota to lose. But Jesus, man, the Big Ten West again is just throw a dart at a dartboard every single week, whether it's Iowa, Northwestern, Illinois, Nebraska, Minnesota, you name it, Purdue. I mean, Wisconsin. It don't matter.
Yeah, here's the good thing though. We were touching on this, right? Iowa has Rutgers next week, right? So that should be a loss because Rutgers can put up some points and they can play defense. So,
yeah, where is that game at? Now you say that.
I want to say that's a good question.
I can take a look too here. I'm very curious because that game, we need Iowa to lose. If you're the Nebraska man, because I believe Iowa's leading they are leading the West over here at 4-2 in conference play. That game is at Iowa, so that does help too. I actually probably, that'll be interesting what the line is on that game, but I would like to see Rutgers go in there and get a win. But you're right, Rutgers is not a bad team, not a bad team at all.
I think it's to me it's more favorable for Rutgers. You look at Minnesota, and they've got Purdue coming up. Now they play at Purdue, so really to me this is what I look at. Purdue's got to beat Minnesota next week. Because the other side of it is, and even if they don't, let's say that Iowa loses to Rutgers, Minnesota's got Ohio State in a couple weeks, so that should be a loss, right?
Yes, correct.
And then Wisconsin's kind of the other piece there, right? Because I'm just thinking about it from the Husker standpoint here, right? Or the Wisconsin standpoint. Their paths to the Big Ten West Championship and what needs to happen here. Yeah, you just need absolute chaos to ensue over the next 3 weeks. Basically.
Yeah, and that's what the Big Ten West has been. I mean, it's been complete chaos. It will be interesting to see what happens here in the next few weeks with the Big Ten West. Like I said, this it's playing out exactly like it did last year in the West, where Purdue made it in with 6 wins or whatever the hell it was, and it got mollywopped by Michigan. So, a lot to be determined here going forward.
I agree with you, Chris. I definitely agree with you. Here's the other side of it, and this is what makes things so interesting, too. We were talking about Auburn and Vandy a little bit yesterday. I was wrong. Auburn had their best offensive day, I think, against Vanderbilt. So
They did. Good win for the Barn. Good win.
West Virginia beat the brakes off BYU. I think we kind of called that there, so that was good for them. Kentucky and Mississippi State. Kentucky 24, Mississippi State 3. Obviously, you can tell, hey, Kentucky was inspired and they're pissed off, and they did what they needed to do. Right? It's very easy to go into that game. Yesterday, a day of upsets and lose a game like that. I felt like.
Yeah. No. I agree with you with my Wildcats there. A couple interesting scores here, Christian. Miami putting up a total of 6 points against NC State.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Not good if you're the Miami man. There was already, they're already probably on the fence there about Cristobal, and now you've got that to deal with. So, that's going to be really interesting to see how that all shakes out.
There's a score here. Stanford beat Washington State. Wow. What has happened to Washington State? The feel-good story of half the season here, Christian, in college football has completely fallen off the wagon.
I think it's their confidence, man. They're just shook. I mean, they're a good team, but I think their confidence has obviously got to be in the toilet right now. Chris, this is something that I think is interesting. Are you more surprised that Washington State lost this game, or are you more surprised they only put up 7 points?
The 7 points. Stanford, anybody they play, they give up at least 40. Washington State, Cam Ward, what happened to this kid? Start the season. He was a Heisman contender. First 4 or 5 weeks of the season. 7 points, man. At home, even. At home.
Yeah, I mean, Stanford, Stanford's had a couple good wins this year, dude. I mean, by good wins, I just mean, that comeback I think that they had against Colorado. Yeah, Colorado. I think that was a good win for them. It was a confidence builder. And then obviously to win yesterday against Washington State, I mean, that's got to be pretty good right there for the Cardinals.
I agree. For a team that was projected to win 2 games this year, they've outpunted their coverage, as they say.
Oh yeah. Let's take a look here at some good stuff here for us, Chris. We're going to take a look at the conference standings here right now as we get ready to. What is this? Week 11? Is that what this is? Week 11?
This will be week 11 coming up. I think this was week 10 Saturday. Maybe I'm wrong. Man, my ESPN will not load. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Oh.
All right.
Let's do this here. Go. All right. So we're looking at. We don't really need to look at that. That's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're cool with us skipping the AAC, right?
Yeah. Tulane's going to win that one anyway. So
good. Florida State right now has firm control over the ACC. Louisville is sitting right there at second behind them, and the Georgia Tech's kind of coming up through the ranks there, man. They're number 3.
That's amazing to me. Georgia Tech, man, they started the season off horrible. They look like one of the worst teams in the ACC. Below the line of Louisville here, though, these teams. I mean, what? It looks like the Big Ten West there. I mean, what's going on there with Tech, UNC? Boston College is ahead of Duke, Miami, Clemson. My God, man.
I mean, and rounding things off, you got Syracuse at the bottom, Wake Forest, Virginia, and then Pitt, who all I mean, you're looking. I mean, there's a huge line right here for me, which is weird because then you got Clemson just above them at 2-4 in the conference.
Yeah. I don't know what the hell's going on. ACC, yeah, definitely Florida State and everybody else. I think Louisville. If they do what they should do going forward here, they should hopefully be playing Florida State for that ACC title. I would assume.
I agree. Would it be weird though if you see Tech somehow get in?
Yeah, Louisville will have to lose a couple games. I know Louisville beat Tech earlier in the year. That was a close game, fourth quarter. But yeah, you're right. Wouldn't that be crazy?
Jeez. Wow. The Big 12, Texas sits atop right there, but Oklahoma State's coming, dude. Oklahoma State's coming for them.
Damn, man. Kansas still around too. Surprisingly, both K-State or Kansas and K-State there. I'm with you though. Oklahoma State, man, looking really, really good right now. Ollie Gordon, by the way, they're running back. Holy shit, man. His last 3 or 4 games, he's got over 800 yards. Guy's on fire right now. Oklahoma State as a whole. Yeah, Oklahoma State looks like the best team in the conference right now. I'll be saying they're even better in Texas. I truly am.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, buy stock in that guy. He's got a good future ahead of him, I feel like. So,
yeah.
Right now, we've got Ohio State and Michigan sitting atop of the Big Ten East, Penn State kind of right there, and then surprisingly, Rutgers is right underneath them. So, but I mean, it's pretty much what it is every year on that side.
Yeah, you said it best. That's what it is every year.
And basically, whoever wins the Ohio State Michigan game is going to end up winning the conference.
I agree.
Then you go down to the Big Ten West. You've got Iowa right now sitting atop there at 4-2. Then you've got Nebraska, Wisconsin, and Minnesota sitting at 3-3 there. Really just holding on for life, holding on for dear life. I mean, you look at it, Nebraska kind of controls their own fortune. So does Wisconsin. So does Minnesota. And Iowa. So, I mean, if you're the Iowa man, we touched on it. Iowa has to. Iowa's schedule is not. Who does Iowa play? I know they play Rutgers next week, and they got Nebraska in the last game. Who do they play here? Who did they play?
Who did they play? They have Rutgers, Illinois, and Nebraska. They could lose. They could lose all 3 of those. I mean, honestly, but you could say that about any team in the West.
You could. You honestly could. I mean, it's Wisconsin's got Northwestern coming up on the schedule. Then they've got Nebraska. Then they finish the year off with Minnesota. So, I mean, here's the thing, right? If you're, and you can make the same argument, I think, that obviously, Nebraska or Wisconsin or Minnesota or Iowa, they just went out, right? That's all they have to do. But I have a feeling, Chris, that this is going to be some weird thing. We're going into the last week of the season, on Thanksgiving weekend there, it's going to be some crazy scenario where it's like, well, in order for Iowa to win the conference, they have to beat Nebraska, and then and then Wisconsin has to beat. It's going to be something stupid like that. I have a feeling.
Just like last year.
Yeah, exactly like last year. Whoever gets to 8 wins basically will wrap the conference up, I think.
Yeah, this year might be one of those where whoever gets to 6 conference wins gets there. I'm with you. It's a mess, and it's not pretty. I'll be honest with you. I mean, all you're going to do if you do win the West is get your ass kicked by Ohio State or Michigan. But then again, like I said, though, we need that. I would love to see Nebraska still win the West. They do have a chance going forward here. But, boy, they needed the one last yesterday to help us out there. That was tough.
I agree with you. Free tickets to that ass-whooping concert out there. The Pac-12, Washington sits atop of the Pac-12 right now. Oregon's right behind them, and then USC pretty much right behind them. And then you pretty much have a 3-way tie here for middle of the pack. Oregon State, Utah, and Arizona. I think the most surprising one, obviously, would be Arizona.
Yeah, for me, for sure, by far. I thought both Arizona schools would be at the very bottom this year. Hats off to Arizona, though. Like I said, they're playing good football. They're bowl eligible already. I don't think a lot of people even probably had them winning 4 games this year, Christian. So, like I said, USC, they're done. This one's coming down to Washington and Oregon, unless some crazy shit happens. USC's got to play Oregon next week or this week, I believe. So, I would think Oregon's going to go in there and put a 50 bomb on them and probably give up about 14.
Yeah, that should be. I mean, we already touched on, USC being pretty much done, I think, dropping out of the top 25, but yeah, it'll be fun to see kind of where that goes this year. for sure, with Oregon, and can they wrap up and do what they need to do to end the season. Looking at the SEC here, I mean, really no shock.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Georgia, man, I think you guys have got yourself a bid over there in Atlanta for the SEC title game, and it looks like you're going to be lining up with a familiar foe, your favorite team in the Alabama Crimson Tide.
I think Georgia's already clinched.
I was going to say I think so too with that win yesterday.
I'm pretty sure they've already clinched. I mean, because we only have 2 more conference games remaining for Georgia, and so it's Tennessee and Ole Miss. Now you can still lose both those games. Don't get me wrong, but there's no way I think Mizzou, or Tennessee or even Florida sitting there. Nobody's going to be able to kind of catch up with that. I don't think. And same thing with Bama and the other side there. I mean, Ole Miss is technically still in the running. But Bama would have to lose. Bama would have to lose. I mean, who do they got? They got Auburn, I know, and then
they got. I know they own the tiebreaker over Ole Miss, but yeah, I can't remember who the hell they even have the rest of the season.
Like
here.
Chattanooga or something like that. I think
Yeah.
Oh, they got Kentucky. So they got Kentucky, Chattanooga, and Auburn. Yeah. I mean, they would have to lose to Kentucky and Auburn. I mean, the Auburn game I think will be interesting.
Always is.
Yeah, always is. So
yeah, that one looks like the SEC's pretty shored up in my opinion. It looks like it's going to be a date in Atlanta with Alabama and Georgia, baby. Man, go Bulldogs!
Oh yeah, let's go, son. Come on now. We're here for it. That'll be probably some shootout that Alabama will win, and I hate my life. So
they're the last team to beat you guys, aren't they?
They are. Yeah, they are. It was the SEC championship game too, of all places. So, hopefully Georgia just wins out, takes care of business, and even that loss, if it is against Bama, it doesn't hurt us too much. Let's see here. Phil Napier loses next 2 games, then beats at Florida State. Is that enough to save his job? I think if he wins, honestly, if he wins any of these next 3 games, I think he'll keep his job.
I do. I would agree with that.
I think here's the problem though, right? Is it's Florida State, Missouri, and then LSU, right?
Yes.
In the game against LSU, that's not at the Swamp, right? That's in Baton Rouge.
That is. Let me take a look here. Yeah, it's at LSU. Yeah.
I mean, here's the hard part about that.
Ooh, that's actually they got at. Sorry, Christian. They got at LSU at Missouri. Those two, both those games are on the road.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say too. Is
Yee.
I mean, you got 2. The easier games there is LSU and Missouri, but they're both on the road. And then the hard game, which I think is against Florida State. Now, I know, hey, Florida State came out and looked like dog shit against Pitt. Teams do that though, right? Good teams are going to do that. They're going to come out and have a beat up game where they looked bad, but they still get a win. And then the next week they end up coming out and just rolling whoever they play. So I've got a feeling that Florida State, that's probably not going to be a win. I know it's in the Swamp, right? But we saw what happened yesterday against Arkansas. So we're going to see what happens. The LSU game, I guess that's the question, right? They're saying that Jaden Daniels is in the concussion protocol. Even with Nussmeier.
Does he, Christian?
Yeah. I would say even if they've got Garrett Nussmeier, I think is his name, even if they got their backup quarterback in there, who are you leaning with that? Are you still going to go LSU, or you might go Florida?
I still lean LSU. I actually think that the most winnable game for Florida going forward is Missouri. And the reason why I'm saying that, Missouri's defense isn't that great, and I know it's on the road, but Mizzou, how does Mizzou handle this loss to Georgia? 1 or 2 things are going to happen with Missouri yesterday. Either they continue pushing forward or they fall off the map. I mean, you see it with teams, right? I mean, it happens. Teams usually go one way or another. For me, I think Florida has a better chance against Missouri than they do LSU or Florida State by far. That's just my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. I think here's the thing though, right? I think that because we saw this when Mizzou lost, right? When Mizzou lost to LSU, I said, oh man, they're going to probably fold.
Right.
and they're probably going to be done. But they didn't. They kept winning. They kept doing what they did. They had a really strong rebound game against Kentucky.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, Florida, it's not looking good. I think Billy Napier, I agree with Christian. If he gets a win against any of these three schools, he'll keep his job. If he doesn't, because you guys then obviously aren't making a bowl, I think he's probably gone.
Which, again, it's one of those things where I'm torn on it, right? I'm torn on it because I think if Napier gets this recruiting class, if he can somehow figure out a way to keep the top 5 recruiting class, I think that changes the dynamic. I think year 3, that makes things a lot more interesting. But here's the problem with that, right? Because we see this all the time. Florida's not a talented team. They've got a good defense. I think Graham Mertz is serviceable. I'm actually getting higher on Graham Mertz. I can't believe I'm saying this. As the season goes along, like he's showing me he can play competent quarterback, right? He can be competent at that position and throw the ball down the field a little bit. But I think the problem is kind of like they've alluded to, just decisions, play calls, different things like that they're doing, and they just get really conservative at points, and they need to kind of push it a little more. And then the defense, we've touched on this. The defense just will go real hot, real cold at times throughout the game, where they may start off, they might look good. Now, I know yesterday, hey, they were without 3 of their defensive linemen, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, I know they had some injuries, but either way, it's still Arkansas, though, right? I mean,
oh yeah,
you got to get that W, man, especially at the Swamp.
Mertz has been their best player, or Ricky. By the way, can we talk about that? Ricky Pearsall. Isn't that the most Florida name ever? Ricky.
Right. No, I was gonna say Ricky Pearsall to me is your best player. That kid will play in the NFL. He's a good player. He's a good receiver. He's had a great year this year.
Changing the Jordan brand there with that one-handed catch. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Fuck yeah, dude.
So,
by the way,
guys,
we'll get in the NFL too. I think the little brother of Travis.
I agree. I agree with you. Florida's got some good running backs. They got some good receivers. I think the biggest question, is the offensive line. Gator Swag says who would Florida hire? Dan Mullen? No, I'm just fucking with you. Hey, that's a guy you throw out all the time, right? Dan Mullen. Bring him back.
Yeah.
No. Hey, what about, and just hear me out now. Speaking of coaches that could go back, what if Urban Meyer came back to Florida?
Oh my God. Yeah. Boy, they would open their arms to him for sure. Yeah. Don't even get me started on Urban Meyer. God, that guy.
Just match the payday that they were going to try to give him. Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, who do you go to bring in there? I would like to think that they would try to go with a high profile name, like Chris Peterson or somebody like that.
Yep, I was just going to say his name.
Ryan Day or Dabo. I don't think Ryan Day's. Listen, I've been pretty critical of Ryan Day, but I think here's what I think is going to happen. Right, I personally think that the NC2A is going to be forced into doing something about this whole Michigan thing. I was reading an article on it yesterday before the season's over. Right, basically, I think Harbaugh potentially will probably end up getting suspended. I wouldn't be shocked if he got suspended for the remainder of the season sometime this week coming up.
Ooh, okay.
That's my thoughts. Now, I don't know if it'll happen or not, right? But if that were to happen, then that probably does that change your take right from the offseason about Michigan and Ohio State in that matchup?
Maybe a little bit, because I know you're going with this, but I still think Ryan Day keeps winning, man. And he's done a good job over there this year. Their defense is actually, I can't believe saying like the word legit. I used to harp on him about being soft all the time. I'm with you, Christian. I don't think Ryan Day goes anywhere. I don't think Dabo Swinney goes anywhere. Who would Clemson ever get if they got rid of Dabo? Dabo is from there. I mean, regardless, he needs to change some things, but yeah, I'm with you though, Christian. And the Harbaugh take's interesting. What happens? I don't think they should penalize the players.
No,
that's what'll piss me off if they do something like that. It's not the players' fault. It's obviously falls on the $11 million man in Harbaugh.
Well, that's the thing too. We talked about someone lost their job. Somebody lost their job over this. And I don't think that, I mean, they paid this guy $50,000 a year. I don't think that guy making $50,000 a year was going to 35 games, paying his own tickets, doing this on his own accord. I mean, somebody obviously was telling him to do this, right? And I think when you do that, right, so you're having to stroke a pretty big check. So that means it's either a coordinator or more than likely it was somebody. It was probably Harbaugh. I mean, allegedly, right? Allegedly with all this stuff. But still, my whole thing is, and they're gonna get to the bottom of that pretty quickly. I got a feeling. And I've got a huge feeling that nobody in the Big Ten is going to stop, because they're not going to stop winning. They're not going to stop winning, Chris.
No.
And it's just going to get amplified. So,
yeah, I like your take on this, though. I do agree with the coaches and everybody coming forward saying, hey, something's got to happen here. The Big Ten or somebody needs to step in, because let's be honest, man, Jim Harbaugh don't have a lot of fans in the Big Ten. A lot of people don't like him. I just know this from, being around the game for a long time now. A lot of people, even the NFL, don't particularly love him. That's why they shot him down. I mean, there's without a doubt what happens here. He is gone after this season. Whether he's coaching the Raiders next year or the Chargers, whoever, he's out the door. I just don't want them to penalize the players. Like, I don't think J.J. McCarthy had anything to do with this, or Blake Corum or any of these guys. It's going to be interesting, though. The NCAA does need to do something. Particularly, they usually wait 2 or 3 years to ever come out with anything, but they're almost getting their hand forced here. I mean, this has become Christian, there's how many times a day does more news break on this thing? I mean, it's crazy.
It's like every hour.
Yeah.
I mean, every hour something comes out about it. So, yeah, it's if I'm a betting man, which I do like to bet, I would probably bet that something's going to happen this week.
Okay.
Just because they've already started the investigation, they want to figure something out and do it rather quickly, and I think they need to move on it. And yeah, I don't see a way where he doesn't end up not getting suspended.
No, I agree. Something's going to happen here. But we got about a month left of the regular season here, so yeah, I'm with you, man.
So if we keep Billy Napier, then we better bring in a new OC and a new DC. I disagree.
I won't add to that. I mean, this is all hypothetical here, but I don't think you guys got to see what you guys do going forward here. I don't think it's fire Billy Napier yet. Christian did make a really good point. You're the fucking Florida recruiting class is what, third? I mean, if he could keep those guys, I think you need to keep your OC and your DC. I actually think what he's done with Graham Mertz over there this year, I can't believe I'm saying this, has been much more improved. I think Florida's got some issues consistent wise when it comes to offense and defense, both sides. But I think that falls at Billy Napier's shoes too. I mean, he is the head coach. He is getting paid a lot of money. I'm with Christian. I don't think you need to fire both those two though.
But the reason why I say, I don't think you need to fire him, and I 100% agree with Chris, is because I look at it from the standpoint of, you don't lose to Arkansas at home. I get that. I think the reason why I wouldn't do it is because, so he's already going to be on the hot seat. Let's say he keeps his job in a critical got to have it year going into year 3 here, right? Like, I watched this whole thing kind of play out with Scott Frost in Nebraska last year, right? In a year where basically if he didn't win 6 games, they were going to fire him. They ended up doing it, I think, after 3 or 4 games. Yep. They said, no, we're not doing this. And they brought in Whipple to try to be the saving grace. And I just thought, look, you got to have it. You bring in new coordinators. It takes a couple years for these guys to get on the same page. You bring in all that talent. We know, hey, look at Texas A&M, right? It takes years to get these guys developed, right? Like, really, the only people that can bring in talent, I feel like, and have most of the team start, and they're really, really young, they're like true freshmen, is like Bama or Georgia, right? Maybe Ohio State. Well, hell, even Ohio State, they like to let guys kind of get, seasoned in there a little bit, right? Like, you look at Ohio State's defense. Ohio State's defense is playing much better this year because they brought in Jim Knowles, former Oklahoma State defensive coordinator, and it took them a few years. It took them a few years to get that talent and to get right. I mean, last year in a big game, they shut the bed. They let Michigan run up and down the field on them. They let Stetson Bennett come out there and turn into what's that guy's name? He looked like the Buffalo Bills. He looked like Kelly. Was that who was that? Am I thinking the right guy there?
I'm off. Oh,
no. He looked like Frank Wright. He looked like Frank Wright okay. Leading that comeback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, so you just can't do it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Christian. I just think like this recruiting class and everything Florida's got going forward here. Yeah, you didn't want to lose to Arkansas at home. It was a must win, but the season's not over yet. Say you guys do beat LSU or Missouri or even knock off Florida State, he's going to keep his job. And Christian said, I'm big into keeping coaches for 3 years. It does take time. You guys, by the way, you guys play in the SEC. You're not playing in the Big 10 West or the Big 12. This is a different animal down there in the SEC. It really is, and it's only going to get harder next year and going forward.
Yeah, you either fire him right now or you either fire him right now, right? I mean, this isn't the NFL. We're not tanking here, right? But you either fire him now or fire him at the end of the season, bring in a new staff and start over, or let him keep both the coordinators.
I agree.
You know what I mean? And that's just what I think. Because I think that doing that whole, we're going to fire the coordinators, you would like to think, hey, we're going to get somebody better. But then what happens is these coaches realize, hey, this is a got-to-have-it year for Billy Napier, and if I come in and I can't get it turned around, that's kind of risky. So then you don't end up getting the big name hire. And I think firing, especially Austin Armstrong, would be a huge, huge thing that would not be good for you. I also think, as far as the offensive coordinator goes, if you fire the offensive coordinator, and because next year Graham Mertz can come back too, right? He's got next year as well.
Yes, he does, and they do have that high profile. Was it DJ Lagway?
They got Lagway. They also have another guy on the roster too, right? What's that guy's name?
I know who you're talking about, and I can't remember it either. But I think that I think Florida, honestly, I think you got to keep Napier another year. I know I harp on the guy all the time, but just with the totality of Oklahoma and Texas coming over next year, no divisions, it's only going to get tougher. And the recruiting class, I think if you guys can keep them, that's the big thing. If you can keep that recruiting class, I think Florida can definitely improve, but you got to keep 90% of college football is recruiting, man. You got to have players if you want to win. I mean, let's just be honest. We see it. I see it every day over here in Nebraska. So Florida is one of those teams that has a boatload of talent. Be happy about that, because there's teams out there that don't have it. You look at teams like Utah, probably have half the talent of some of these bigger name schools, but they got great coaches and they buy in over there and they outperform teams every freaking week. So, hats off to Billy Napier doing Billy Napier things yesterday.
Sunbelt Billy earned that title one day at a time. Well, guys, we're going to get back at it here. We're going to get back at it here on Wednesday for the preview show. Be there or be square. I'll let Chris sign us out here.
Absolutely, guys. Appreciate the support today. If you haven't, please like the video, comment, subscribe, tell your mom, tell your dad about it, get them in here. We do appreciate the support, though. Like I said, we had a pretty good crowd in here this morning, so we appreciate that. Also, get your fantasy football lineup set, as my Dolphins are getting their ass kicked right now. So we'll sign it out here. We'll talk to you guys.